We're thrilled to welcome Leila Adu here. Leila, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
I think you're in New York City right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I'm only one of you guys leaving. But it turns out everyone has another house somewhere else. Where is it?
Well, right now, I'm at Jody Elf's house. He's at Central Command. He's working behind the scenes with the various screens going on, and I'm in one of his rooms just for the day.
Yeah,
I'd like to be in here. It's very nice. But anyway, so thrilled you could do this piece. Work with Mark and take it on. And I'd just love to hear a little bit about, first of all, about the title, but then also about the process of building the piece with Mark.
Yeah, so I was very, very lucky for you to pair. For me, it was very lucky for me that you paired me with Mark, because it's obviously been a really horrible political time, one thing after the other. And I'm not sure how well I could have been able to compose were I to be doing that with somebody else who I'd never met. But he's just such a lovely person and so down to go where the music is going and collaborate that, my general experience with musicians is that they're really lovely people, but he kind of exceeded my lovely person thought about musicians. So he was super lovely to work with. So yeah, I actually started about writing this piece. I was going to write it about this word egress and thinking about the way that you transmit this virus to people, and egress and egret. So I was thinking of birds and flight. And I started thinking about the way that Black and brown bodies, Latino people, African Americans, Black people in this country are really affected by the coronavirus's staggering numbers, and Indigenous people as well. And so I started to write this piece about that. And then I'm not a very angry person, but I was already feeling this kind of just sort of frustrated anger. And then George Floyd was murdered. And so I guess I made this piece about both those things. My dedication is to the Black and Brown and Indigenous victims of COVID-19 and countless past and current avoidable pandemics, to George Floyd and the pandemic of police murders, and to our fragile humanity. So that's what I sent to Mark as my draft score, and he really understood what I was doing. And I changed the title to Black Crown Nigh-Heron, because I actually, after talking to Mark about that, I went and was walking on the Hudson River and I saw like a black heron from very far away, and I thought like, oh, I've got to change the title of this piece to that. And I just looked around for birds that are around this area. So I haven't been off Manhattan since the pandemic. I've just been stuck here. So I've been definitely seeing more nature and thinking about, I'm from New Zealand, we think about nature a lot, but definitely thinking about this local nature here in the city. So just these thoughts of escape, fugitivity, anger, I guess. I really just wanted to write a one chord guitar song, and then it turned into this very long thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. So did you work like by Zoom, or how did you guys connect?
Yeah, so I'm a composer, and that's my tradition. Like I guess 20 years ago now, I think I went to composition school in New Zealand, but I'm an improviser and performer as well. And so over the last few pieces, I've been working with cells that you can kind of just keep playing as many times as you want, like get into it and move on and maybe improvise a little in that. And so this piece is built up of these cells, and he said he played one of them, which is 4 bars for like half an hour. So he was really getting into this idea of the cells, and sort of, he had also said to me that he likes to think of revelry rather than mastery of an instrument, because I was talking about how I like to make instruments really speak. And so we joined on this thing of really liking to make the guitar speak. And I wrote the piece on a guitar. I'm a pianist, but I wrote it on guitar. So I kind of just wrote for someone better than me, playing faster than me and better than me, and heard him do that when I would send him a draft, and he would play it back to me and try out different sounds. But yeah, he from the beginning just started playing everything completely right, like exactly how I heard it in my head. Yeah.
I love the word revelry. It's beautiful, and that sounds like Mark. I mean,
it sounds so much like Mark. Yeah,
he's such a spiritual being, and I think we all felt that this pairing, and as it turns out, this pairing at this time, I think is very profound, and so happy that it was satisfying for you.
Yeah, he was very, very patient. Like one section, I just said I had a dream, and it was in my head when I woke up in the morning, and I sent it to him and he played it. Like I think, I didn't write the things the best way as a composer should, because I was really feeling, it was more of a felt, I always feel my compositions, but this one was sort of fast and felt, and he really picked it up and was very kind with that energy. So I'm really grateful to him that he put that into it. And I'd like to say thank you to you guys for donating 10% of the ticket sales to Equal Justice Initiative. Last week I raised with a friend some money for PPE into prisons, and that's really one of the populations that I think of when I think of this pandemic in this city in particular. So just thinking about the ways that communities of color are negatively affected by the incarceration system and police brutality and the pandemic, I think. And I guess being a musician and being a composer and being a teacher as well, like you, Julie, we work in the same place. And yeah, I guess it's so easy to just think about things that are grand things to do, like, go on a protest, or maybe give some money. I think those are things, but then I think that there comes a time when every person has to think, what can I personally do? And that might be money, but maybe it's not. Like, as a musician for years, it's been very hard to help out in that way. And so I think, like, what influence do I have? Who could I tell about this subject? Maybe just teaching students more about Black music. These things, I think, really have long repercussions. I really think of now as like a node time, like a time of change.
Leila,
I hope so.
I
hope so.
I just got a text that our data people just said there are a whole bunch of people in New Zealand who just tuned in.
Yeah.
You might want to say hello to them.
Yeah, hi mom, hi family, hi friends in New Zealand.
And I also want to thank Stephen Block and Raulee Marcus who commissioned this piece.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Stephen and Raulee.